It's a new month and I'm here with 5 new book recommendations. 5 new books that I've read recently that I liked and that I think you might like as well. So let's get started with today's video. The first book that I wanted to recommend is called The Storied Life of A.J. Fikry by Gabrielle Zevin. So I actually went for this book because I had just finished Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, which is my favorite book of 2022. And I wanted to see what other things the author has written. It usually happens that when I discover an author, like for example, Taylor Jenkins Reid, I usually like the other books that that author has written. So when I discovered Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Gabrielle Zevin, I thought, well, maybe this is my favorite book, like who knows. And also there was a movie coming out and I always need to read the book first and then watch the movie or watch the TV show. So I was very eager to read this. This story is of course about A.J. Fikry. He is the owner of a bookstore in a remote island and he is a very particular character. His wife has died. He is experiencing the worst year of sales in his history, and one of his most prized possessions, which is a collection of Poe's poems, has been stolen. So definitely not the best year of his life. And the only people that he really interacts with is a police officer from that town and also Amelia, which is a book sales representative that comes every once in a while to the island to try to sell the new books that are coming out from the editorial that she works for. But then something happens and this something changes A.J. Fikry's life forever. It changes his view on life. It changes his relationships towards the people that surround him. It changes his relationship towards the people in this town and the relationship of this town towards him and his bookstore. I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to share much. You are going to see what happens if you read the book or if you watch the movie. It happens pretty early on in the story. And thinking about the book kind of makes me emotional as someone that really likes books and that has been reading for basically as long as I can remember. Thinking about being surrounded by books and having a bookstore, it's kind of magical and romantic in a way. And you'll see him talking about different authors and different stories. And I love that aspect of the book. You can tell that the author is a very avid reader as well. But I don't know, I wouldn't say this is like my favorite book of all time. Definitely it's not. But I really like this. It's a very nice story. It has some romance. Personally, I think it was kind of obvious how this was going to end, but I still enjoyed it and I feel like the movie is really well done. It really has that magic that you feel in the book and this story of this man and how his life changes from one day to the next. So I really hope you give this one a chance, and if you haven't read Tomorrow, Tomorrow and Tomorrow by the same author, go ahead, read that one first. The next book that I wanted to talk about is called The Girls Who Disappear by Claire Douglas. So Claire Douglas, this is an author that I discovered through the book The Couple at Number 9. And what I like about this book and in a way about this author is that I've read so many books about like mysteries and thrillers and whodunit and all that. So in a point it gets kind of repetitive, and by like 75% of the book you already know how that's going to end and it's kind of annoying in a way. But Claire Douglas has like some real magic, and the book The Couple at Number 9 really surprised me. I really was not expecting the end at all. It has like a super twist, and when I found out that she was coming out with a new book, I was like, I need to get this one. I actually got an ARC, an advanced reader copy that the editorial sent me, and I read this book and she did it again. This book also has like a surprising ending and something that even though I could anticipate some of what was going to happen, I could not anticipate like all of it, and I feel that's the magic of this author. Let me talk about the plot. So of course there are 3 missing girls. They were missing many years ago in a small town somewhere in the UK. They were in a car accident, but the thing is that there were 4 girls in this car when this car accident happened. One of them is alive and the other 3 are missing. And this girl, the one that survives, she really doesn't remember remember anything about the night of the disappearance. She remembers like seeing someone, maybe a light, but it's really not clear in her head what happened to her friends, where they are, if they're alive, if they're dead, if they gone missing somehow. So there's this reporter that comes into the town. She's working on a podcast, and she basically wants to interview everyone that was in one way or another related to this case, like the police officers and the girl that survived and her family and all that, to try to unravel the mystery. People don't go like missing. They don't vanish from the surface of the earth. They must be somewhere. So we follow her investigation and how it leads her to this amazing like discovery. I really like this book. I think again, Claire Douglas does an amazing job at keeping you on the edge of your seat until the very end, and having this like twist, this like shocking ending that even if you read tons and tons of mystery or thriller books like I do, I can tell you, you won't be able to anticipate the ending. Book number 3 that we're going to be talking about is called 7 Exes by Zevin. So this is a book that I also got as an ARC and advanced reader copy. And at the beginning, I was unsure about it. I mean, I asked for it, but then it was like, oh, it's just like too silly, romantic, and maybe not my style. I'm more about the mystery and the thrillers. But I still went ahead and gave it an opportunity, and I loved it. I actually was kind of in a slump and having kind of a hard time like finding something interesting to read. I had just finished Spare by Prince Harry, and that book was like very deep and very hard and slow at times. So I wanted and I needed something light, something easy to read, and this was just what I needed to get back into reading. So 7 Exes is a rom-com. The main character is called Esther, and Esther is reading a magazine, and she sees in this magazine an article that talks about the 7 Exes, 7 past loves that you had in your life. There's the first love, the work mistake, the overlap, the friends with benefits, the mischance, the bastard, and the serious one. And this article says that one of those 7 exes is actually the love of your life. So Esther is like, okay, I'm gonna go on this crazy quest and I'm going to find each of my 7 exes, and I need to find which of these people is the one. Which of them is actually the person that I'm supposed to be for the rest of my life, that I'm supposed to marry, that I'm supposed to grow old with and have kids and all that. So she, along with her 2 best friends, go on this journey trying to contact the people that were part of her past life and seeing what happens. So it's a really funny book. You can really see this becoming maybe a movie or a TV show at some point. But even if it doesn't, you kind of like laugh and get a bit emotional as you read it. I feel like it has like a great story, even though you might see the end coming at some point and the idea of the book. It's still funny. It's still a great read. I think I finished it in like 2 days or so. But it's a book that brings you joy, that makes you laugh, that makes you happy, that makes you think about love, think about being in love, think about having great time with friends. So definitely give it a read, especially if you're in a reading slump and you're feeling like uninspired, you don't know what to read next, or maybe you have just read something like really deep and something that maybe made you like want to stop reading for a while. This is the perfect book to get back into reading. Book number 4, we are going to be talking about Maybe in Another Life by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So I mentioned before that Taylor Jenkins Reid is one of my favorite authors of all time. Her book, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, was my favorite book of 2020. And I've read everything that came after Evelyn Hugo. Like I've read Carrie Soto is Back, I read Malibu Rising, I've read Daisy Jones and the Six, but I actually didn't read anything before that. She started kind of like a different type of books with Evelyn Hugo, and she kind of like created a different world, like a parallel world where these characters live and interact. But then I knew she had some books from before that that are not as popular, but I still wanted to like give them a chance. And this one, Maybe in Another Life, one of you have actually recommended to me. So I was like, okay, we're gonna read it. And this book has a very original like premise. It's about a woman called Hannah. She and a friend and some of their schoolmates are at a bar, like having fun, having some drinks. And then her friend, her best friend Gabby, she tells her if she wants to go back home or if she wants to stay with this guy that she used to like when they were in high school. So Hannah has to make a choice. She leaves with Gabby or she stays with Ethan at the bar. And the book then splits, and every chapter shows you what would happen to Hannah or what happens to Hannah when she chooses choice number 1, and then what happens when she chooses choice number 2. Very different timelines, very different stories, and I think that in a way the idea of this book is showing you how one tiny little decision like choosing to stay at a bar or leave might change basically the course of your life and who you end up with, what happens to you in terms of health, in terms of your job, in terms of friends, in terms of family, basically everything that can change in a split second and a split decision. I feel like it's a good book. The idea is really great. I don't know if I loved it. Definitely all of the other books by Taylor Jenkins Reid that I mentioned before, I like all of them more than this one, but still I think it's a good read and easy read if you're looking for something like that. Now moving on to book number 5, we are going to be talking about The Marlow Murder Club by Robert Thorogood. So I have this one like very fresh in my mind because I finished it like a week or 2 weeks ago. So very fresh. This was actually also an ARC, an advanced reader copy that the editorial sent me, but I think they sent it to me like a year ago or so. It got lost in my inbox or something because I forgot about it. I didn't read it, but I finally read it and I loved it. I'm like, why didn't I read this before? Anyways, let's talk about the plot. So this book has 3 characters. One of them is like the main character, and then we have like 2 secondary ones. The main character is called Judith. Judith is, I think it's in her 70s or 80s. She is a woman that lives on her own. She has this like huge house by the river in a small town in the UK. And one day when she's swimming naked in the river Thames like she usually does, she thinks that she hears a gun being fired inside the house of her neighbor that lives across the river. So from that very moment, she starts like trying to investigate, even though the local police tell her not to because she's an 80-year-old woman. She starts like trying to figure out what happened, if his neighbor was murdered or not, if it was an accident, if it was a suicide, or what else happened. And in this journey, she befriends 2 other women. One of them is Bex. She is the wife of the local vicar, which I guess is like the head of the church in a way of this small town. And the other person is Susie, which is a dog walker that also lives in this town. The town is called Marlow. That's the name of the book. I think I didn't mention that before. So they become fast friends and they start to like work as investigators in a way, trying to figure out what's going on in Marlow with this murder mystery. So I really like this book for, I would say, mainly one reason, that the characters are not like your usual characters. It has like some vibes of like Agatha Christie, and the author says that was inspired by Agatha Christie, but instead of being like the regular detective like Hercule Poirot, you have this woman that is not a policewoman, is not like an official detective, trying to figure out this mystery when she's like a tiny old cute lady, and these other 2 women that are definitely not the type of people that you would see solving mysteries. So I feel like that's like the really great catch of the book, seeing this unusual group of people solving mysteries. But also I think that the book is like really comical in a way, has some really great bits, and you really like fall in love in a way with the characters and you want them to succeed. And even though if you might see what's going on, like it happened with me with the ending and everything, you really want to read it until the very last page. So that is going to be it for today's video. Those are my 5 book recommendations. Let me know if you have read any of these books. Let me know what you thought of them. Let me know if you have read any other book by the authors that I mentioned. Let me know if you like any of the books that I've talked about and if you're going to read one of them. And also let me know what you're reading at the moment and what you'd recommend. That is it for today's video, and I will see you on the next one. Bye! Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. I am going to be talking about 5 books that I read, 5 books that I liked. I'm going to share the plot, what I thought about it, my rating, and all that. You all know the drill. So let's get started. The first book that I wanted to recommend is called Death Comes to Marlow by Robert Thorogood. So this is the second book in the Marlow mystery series. Maybe I'm getting the name wrong. In that case, it'll appear on the screen. It's called Death Comes to Marlow, and again, someone gets killed, of course. And this time is someone called Sir Peter Bailey. The 3 women that I mentioned before, they are at his birthday party, if I'm not mistaken, and this person ends up getting killed. And the funny thing about this book in particular is that this man was inside a room that was locked from the inside. So we are at a typical case of a locked room mystery where no one was supposedly able to come in, kill this person, and then come out of the room because the room is locked from the inside. And they need to figure out exactly what happened, if this was an accidental death or if someone killed this person for their own gain. I really like this book. I actually gave it 4 out of 5 stars, which is quite high for me, but it was very good. And I think that this author has really discovered a new twist in this type of books, which is something that I'm always looking for as someone who loves mysteries and thrillers. I usually share how I can tell who the killer is, or I can tell how the book is going to end, usually by 30, 40, 50% of the book. And with this ones, he always keeps me guessing. So super excited about this book. Highly recommend you read it. And now moving on to the second book recommendation on this video, and you're going to see a familiar theme. It's called The Queen of Poisons, and it's book number 3 in the Marlow Mystery Club series by Robert Thorogood. So yeah, it's book number 3. It's a series. I really liked it. This one was one of the first books that I read in 2024. This time around, the mayor of Marlow dies at a council meeting, and one of the 3 women, which are this kind of detectives, actually is there at the council meeting, and they need to find out basically who in that room had any motives, any opportunity to kill the mayor, and why and how and all that. I really like this one. I feel like what this author does really, really great is that it keeps you guessing. It keeps you on your toes. You really are like, yes, this is definitely the killer. And then 2 chapters later, you're like, no, it's this other person. And then 3 chapters after that, you're like, no, definitely this person. And next chapter, that person gets killed. And you're like, so I don't think they were the main suspect. It's very, very good. And after finishing this book, I actually found out that the first book was turned into a TV show. So the Marlow Murder Club is a TV show. It was produced, I think, by BBC, and at least here in the US, you can find it on Prime Video. And I loved it. I think they did a really good adaptation. I love getting to see more of Marlow, of this town in the UK, seeing the town, the people. It's very good. I think the 3 people that they chose for the 3 main roles are wonderful women, wonderful actresses. Really, really liked it. So I suggest you read the series because, again, it's a favorite of mine. But then after that, you also go ahead and watch the TV show. I usually think that books are better than TV shows. You already know that. But they did such a wonderful job with this one. So you definitely need to watch it. Book number 3 that I wanted to recommend is called The Woman on the Ledge by Ruth Mancini. This one I think was an ARC, an advanced reader copy that the editorial sent me. I really like this book. I think I gave it either 3 out of 5 stars. This book is about a woman who falls from the roof terrace of a bank in London, and when this happens, they arrest another woman who the police thinks is responsible for this and is a suspect in a murder case. But this woman, the one that got arrested, says that she just met the victim. They met for a brief minutes, they talked, and the victim was trying to commit suicide. She talked her out of it, and she has nothing to do with the victim falling off the roof terrace of this building. I think that this book is, all in all, a very good book, very good twists, keeps you guessing until the last minute. I think I gave it 3 out of 5 stars because even though it surprised me with a few things, I
figured out the ending of this book around like 60-70%, so that kind of spoiled it for me. But it's a very original story. I think it's quite distinct in the way this author thought about the story, about the main characters, about the plot, and how everything kind of wraps up at the end. So I suggest you read this one. I think you're really going to like it. Book number 3 that I wanted to talk about is called The Stranger in the Mirror by Liv Constantine. First of all, fun fact is that Liv Constantine is actually not one person, but actually a duo of sisters that write under the name Liv Constantine, which has nothing to do with the plot of this book, but it's a fun fact that I think not a lot of people know and that I thought was worth mentioning. Anyways, back to this book. This book is on one side about a woman. Her name is Addison. Addison has what it seems to be a pretty great life. She has a nice job. She has just gotten engaged. She really loves her fiance, her fiance's family. But there's one thing about Addison, and that is that she doesn't have any memories, any recollections of whatever her life was before the point of meeting her now fiance. She remembers everything after that moment, but nothing from before that. So she has like 30 years or so of life that she knows nothing about. And even though she is sort of happy and loves her life, she is still worried and stressed about whatever happened to her before, especially considering the circumstances in which she appears in this town and stuff. So that's like one thing. And on the other side, we have a man. His name is Julian, and Julian's wife disappeared. She suddenly went missing one day. He doesn't know where she is. They have a daughter. Her daughter asks about her mom every single day, and he doesn't know whether or not to move on with his life or to keep on searching for his wife. So now, and as I said a few videos back, if you have read any book or watched any movie and I tell you there's like two sides of the story, you're like, a woman with no recollection of her past, a man searching for his lost wife. But if you haven't figured this out, then that's okay. One way or the other, you can read this book and you can find out what happens. For me, this book, I give it 2 out of 5 stars, which is like a very harsh rating. And the thing is that I think this duo of sisters are very good. They write great books. But there's this one point for me where the characters in their books are just too twisted, too crazy, too insane. And even though I figured the ending a couple chapters in advance, I was like, I don't know if I want to keep on reading books by this author, just because I think that we have enough insane people, mental people in real life to be reading about them in books as well. I love mysteries, I love thrillers, I love dramas, but I don't know, I don't think this book was quite my vibe, but maybe it is your vibe, so I suggest you give it a chance. The 5th and last book that I wanted to recommend is called Here One Moment by Liane Moriarty. And if you have watched one of my previous videos, you know how special this book is for me. I read it back in June and the book actually came out in September. When I read it, I liked it, but it was even more special because, as I shared a few videos back, I got a chance to be at the launch event for this book here in New York City at the TWA Hotel in JFK, and I got to meet Liane Moriarty. Woo! Very good for the program, I would say. So leaving that aside, I wanted to talk about this book. You know, I have read, I think 3 or 4 books by Liane Moriarty. I read What Alice Forgot, which I absolutely loved. I also read Truly Madly Guilty, which I can't remember right now, but I think I liked it. I read The Husband's Secret, which I liked a lot as well. And I also read 9 Perfect Strangers, which is probably my least favorite book out of the ones that I read. And I've also watched the TV show Big Little Lies, which is based on one of her books. So I have to admit that I am a huge Liane Moriarty fan, and this book was no exception. This book talks about a woman that is on a flight with a lot of other people, and seemingly out of nowhere, this woman stands up, goes to the aisle of the plane, and starts walking down from the front of the plane to the back of the plane. And what she's doing is that she's pointing at people, and she says a number, which is an age, and she lists a cause of death. For example, she would say 58 lung cancer, 39 motorcycle accident, 99 natural causes. And she does that for the whole plane. So at the beginning, people are like, oh, what's going on? Then they're like, this woman is crazy. Then they are like, why are we even listening to this person? Please, someone do something. And then everyone goes on with their lives. This flight finally takes off. They get to their homes. They go on with their lives. But then something that she predicted happens. Someone dies at the age and in the exact way that she predicted. And then another person dies in the manner that she predicted. So people start getting worried. You know, it's like, I don't believe in psychics, but something's going on. And we basically see what happens. This book has a lot of different points of view because we see this story being told from her point of view, but then from, I would say, like 20 different passengers in this plane. And I really like this book. I kind of knew where the story was going, but still I feel like with most of Liane Moriarty's books, I love how, in my opinion, there's this story, which is what you're reading, and then there's this like other story, like a subplot where she's trying to like teach you something. In this case, it's about whether or not if you knew when your life is going to end, if you would change anything. And I love how this book, and also the reason why I loved What Alice Forgot, how these books make you think and wonder, would I do anything differently if I knew how much time I have left? Or am I happy with the choices that I made in the past few years and with the life that I have, or would I change them if I had the chance to? And I think that in that sense, the book is really good. And it's also very original when it comes to the actual story. In this event that I was at, Liane Moriarty actually shared with us how she came up with this story. And I'm going to share with you because I don't think that's something that you're going to see everywhere. She told us that she was on a plane and there was a delay. People started talking. And one woman was calling her daughter, telling her that she would be late and to please ask her dad, the girl's dad, to pick her up at a later time at the airport. And this girl was like, Daddy is like not responding. He's not responding, not responding. And Liane Moriarty on the plane was like, is this man dead? And that's why he's like not responding to her daughter. In the end, this man was not dead. He was very much alive. He was just asleep, had drunk like a couple of years. But what this made her think, and also the fact that her dad had passed away and when her sisters got diagnosed with cancer and she got diagnosed with cancer as well, was it made her think about her own mortality and how our time on earth really is limited. And what she thought was, oh, I don't know when I'm going to die, but one day in the future, someone would be able to look at the manifest of this plane and you'll have the list of all the people on this plane, their ages at the time, and you would be able to tell when these people died and why, which is again not something that you could do right now, but it's something that potentially with the information you could do about a plane with people from like 100 years ago. So she thought about this idea of this psychic that predicts the death and the manner of death of all the people on the plane. And I really liked it. I liked the idea of the book. I think it was very original. I loved the event that I got to attend at the Coney airplane at the TWA hotel. I love getting to know Liane Moriarty. And I also wanted to use this opportunity as a chance to say thank you. If you have watched any of my book recommendations videos since 2020 up to right now, thank you so much if you watched any of them. And if you left a comment, if you read any of the books that I recommended, because it's in part thanks to you watching these videos and interacting with them that I got this wonderful opportunity of meeting one of my favorite authors and going to this amazing event. So thank you so much. And that is going to be the end of today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you like these 5 new book recommendations. I hope that you take away at least one book, one recommendation that you want to go ahead and read. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, of course, give this video a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below. Let me know which one of these books you have read, which ones of these books you want to read after my review, or which book you are reading right now and that you would recommend. And if you're not subscribed, of course, go ahead, hit the subscribe button down below, hit the notification bell so you can get notified of every time that I upload a new video. That is going to be it for today's video. And as I always say, I will see you on the next one. Bye!